Do you remember the moment where you went, yes, baby, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use real estate to break through to my financial freedom?
It was when I was at the conference with David, I got to rub elbows with a ton of people that were doing some pretty cool things. And their average deals, they were making $10 and $15, $20,000. Luckily, I got introduced to real estate. I always say that real estate found me. I didn't find it. David, after a few months of knowing him, he invited me to go to a real estate conference with him. I had never read a real estate book. I didn't understand his business other than he owned rental properties. And so I basically made David an offer that he couldn't refuse. And I offered to come work for him in whatever capacity he needed for free for as long as he needed me so that I could get to understand the business. That's what I did. Between tending bars in the evenings and going to classes a couple days a week, I would literally go drop off leases for him, pick up supplies from Home Depot, drop it off at a property, return phone calls. I was 19 then, turned 20, and then bought my first investment property at the age of 20.
I am Christina Suter, and this is the Real Estate Breakthrough Show, where we talk about the reality of real estate, the mindset you need in order to face the reality of what it is, and tips and tricks to get you moving forward in investing. I am your host, Christina Suter.
Hey, you, this is Christina Suter on Real Estate Breakthrough. I am with Kevin Bupp, who just gave me the correct way to say his last name because I didn't want to say it the wrong way. He's with Sunrise Capital. And guys, he was sent to me as a suggestion, and my assistant picked him specifically for me to invite him to my show. So he's new to me as he is new to you, but I have high hopes for Kevin being able to tell us both his level of expertise, but also really help us understand why is it so important to break through to your financial freedom using real estate. I cannot say that enough. You guys hear it every show. Let's find out from Kevin. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Christina, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. And hopefully I can live up to you and the show's expectations here. I think we're going to have some fun.
Oh, baby. I am sure it's going to be a home run. I have no question about it. Tell us your background. Tell us your history in real estate. Let's hear the bottom line.
Absolutely. So I always like to joke and say that I've never had a full-time job. I got introduced. Luckily, I got introduced to real estate. I always say that real estate found me. I didn't find it. So very grateful and blessed that our paths crossed. My path with real estate back when I was 19, and basically I got brought into the business by a gentleman by the name of David. David was literally dating my girlfriend's mother, and that's how I met David. He was a local real estate investor in my hometown in Pennsylvania. And he owned a bunch of single family and small multifamily properties. And, just what I really identify with David, what I noticed, what stuck out to me was that he lived a very different lifestyle than what I did growing up. I mean, very blue collar family, both parents worked, but we had everything. We didn't have, didn't go without, but we were by no means were wealthy. I didn't know any business owners or anything like that. So this was kind of unique, getting to know David, getting to really understand the world of a business owner, and to seeing, how he managed life and how he managed his business, very different than that of, a 9-to-5 that my parents had. And so anyway, long story short, David, after a few months of knowing him, he invited me to go to a real estate conference with him. I didn't know any, I had never read a real estate book. I didn't understand his business other than he owned rental properties. He had tenants that paid rent each month, and he had mortgages, and he made money basically on the spread on the monthly rent versus that of what he was paying in expenses, mortgage, tax, insurance, what have you. Outside of that, I didn't understand the business. And so, but anyway, he invited me to this conference, and so in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to school here. I'm going to community college. Not really getting, not clear on what I want to do when I grow up. Tending bar in the evenings, having fun with that, right? And so, but no real direction. And so I was like, I'd be foolish if I didn't go to this conference with him. He spent a couple $1,000s on it. And he invited me to go. I don't know why, but I should go. And so I went. Long story short, went to this conference, met a lot of people that were doing big things, in my eyes, huge things. And I didn't feel like they were much smarter than I. They just had additional knowledge that I didn't have. And so I basically made David an offer that he couldn't refuse. And I offered to come work for him in whatever capacity he needed for free for as long as he needed me so that I could get to understand the business. And literally I wanted to be around him. I enjoyed his company already. He enjoyed mine, although we were like 25 years difference in age. He was a really good guy and just was pleasant to be around. I think he obviously felt the same about me. And so that's what I did. Between tending bars in the evenings and going to classes a couple days a week, I would literally go drop off leases for him, pick up supplies from Home Depot, drop it off at a property, return phone calls of folks that were calling about rental units that he had available. He was kind of a solopreneur. He was doing all this stuff himself. and he managed, but like there was definitely areas where he could use improvement. Technology was actually a really big one that he needed a lot of help with, like just PowerPoint presentations and things like that. So anyway, long story short, I did that for 14 to 15 months. And I was 19 then, turned 20, and then bought my first investment property at the age of 20. And I leveraged $7,000 of money I'd saved up bartending. And then also I met a lot of David's network. And he had some private lenders that he worked with. And so I got to be around those people, got to know them, got to understand what they were looking for. And so one of his private lender relationships loaned me, the difference of the money of the purchase and the rehab. And that was it. That was the start of it. That was back in 2000. And so here we are, 24 years later. That's again, I joke, I've never had a real job, because bartending's not a real job. It's a fun job. I made a lot of money doing it, and I met a lot of people, but that's not a career. At least not in my eyes, it wasn't.
It's not a career. It's a good entry job, though.
Yeah.
And it is a good entry job, because not only are you learning like a vital skill, like learning how to make drinks, that of course being a life vital skill. Okay, no, I'm being completely sarcastic and I apologize. But but what is a life skill and what is vital is being able to be with people.
Yeah.
Just being able to be in front of a variety of people. Each one of them's got their personality, their needs, their wants, the way they react, and being able to stand in that and go, yep, I can be with people.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with you. I agree.
Right?
I'm by no means an extrovert. I'm probably somewhere in the middle of an extrovert and an introvert. I mean, like I don't mind. I'm completely comfortable talking to people, being in audiences, and again, like, but I remember when I got that job, I was nervous. Like it was a pretty big bar that I worked at, and on the weekends it got packed. I mean, like it was probably could seat 100 people at the bar, so it was huge and it was overwhelming, and just lots of personalities, and it was a great learning experience. I mean, invaluable of the things I took away from the couple of years of tending bar. And so anyway, things that I've carried over into my business, right? Just basic communication skills, which you're not really taught in school, right? And so being thrown to the wolves in that environment was great for me.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was getting to. And thank you for bottom lining that. That was perfect. So here you are, you're a young man, you've been bartending, you buy a house, you have a mentor, which is great, who encouraged you to buy the house. But that doesn't mean that real estate became your career, your life.
No.
So why did you choose, or what, do you remember the moment where you went, yes, baby, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use real estate to break through to my financial freedom. I'm going to choose the life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, and I'd always been an entrepreneur, growing up. I mean, and that means, is little things as shoveling snow and mowing grasses, when I was really young, to make money. So I could go buy the BMX bike or buy, whatever it might've been at that time that was important to me. Mostly material items that were, toys, more than likely.
You're kids. You're a kid. Yes, of course.
I got a paper route. You had to be 12 to get a paper route. I couldn't wait to turn 12, so I got a paper route so I could make my own money. And I had a really big paper route, and I made $100 a week when I was 12 years old. It was really cool, and so I got to buy cool things.
That's actually a lot of money at 12.
That was a lot of money. Yeah, it was a lot of money.
Inflation.
I know. It was a good gig for sure.
Yeah,
and so I always had a desire to kind of just make my own money and kind of pave my own way. Again, I knew that we weren't poor by any means, but I just knew that my parents, they never had a lot of excess capital laying, a lot of excess money laying around. I mean, they're always pretty budget conscious. We went on one vacation a year, and it was, mostly it's a driving vacation. We would drive the vehicle. We couldn't afford to fly as a family and things like that, but it was fine. I mean, like, it wasn't a big deal, but I at least identified that we definitely didn't have a lot of excess cash laying around or money to go spend on a lot of these little things I wanted as a child, again, BMX bikes and dirt bikes and things like that. So anyway, from a young age, I was always kind of hustling, trying to make money so that I could go buy the thing. Back then it was material. Today it's like buying time, right? Like, most important thing to me is buying time and buying flexibility and freedom so I can spend as much of that free time with my family, my wife and my kids. And so back then it was about, making money to buy those, material items that were important to me way back then. So, I think the pivotal moment, to answer your question about, when did I identify as real estate as, this is it. This is my pathway there. It's honestly, before I bought that first deal, it was when I was at the conference with David, I got to rub elbows with a ton of people that were doing some pretty cool things. And like, their average deals, they were making $10,000 and $15,000 and $20,000. And again, I didn't feel as though they were any smarter than I. They just had some additional knowledge I didn't yet have. And so at that point in time, I'm like, I've never felt excited about anything. Academic, I wasn't super excited to just go get a degree. I didn't see the pathway of making financial or creating financial freedom, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. There was nothing that excited me, like as far as like a professional career. And so this was that thing. I'm like, these guys are making a lot of money. It seems like it's a fun business. These people I've enjoyed these 3 days of being around these different folks here, and they seem like they've got a lot of flexibility and freedom, to be here at this conference, learning and meeting others. This is it. If I can get David to allow me to kind of come in and through osmosis learn the business, I think this is something I can wrap my arms around. So like, it was before I bought that first property. I mean, I was so excited after leaving that conference, and that's why I went to David and offered my assistance. Was that I knew that if I went back from that conference, I was buzzing, I was happy, I had all this energy. I knew that if I didn't act upon it, that it would fizzle out. Weeks would go by, months would go by, I'd go back to the same old routine, and I would forget what that excitement felt like. I would forget what that energy felt like of being at that conference. And so that's why I was like, I need to be around this more. I need to understand the business, and please, David, let me come help you grow your business. So
I'm going to guess that you didn't know how crucial that single decision was. Looking back at it now, like you're a dad, right? You've got kids. You're a dad. I've got a kid, right? I look back now and I look at what she chooses and how she did competitive gymnastics. Now she wants to double down on swimming, right? And she chose to stop competing. And I look back at her personality and her willingness to double down on something. And I just want to cultivate the crap out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care what you choose to do, as long as it's healthy for you, that you're going to double down on and take mastery in. Pick it. It can be soccer, it can be volleyball, it can be swimming. I don't really care. But that willingness to commit, and to commit young like you did, and double down on, this is what I'm going to do. A friend of mine calls it, give more than I've earned. Like, really go, yeah, I am going to give into a vacuum because this is where I want to go. And it's like giving of your time, your focus, your energy, and your determination created an early success for you that you literally never looked back. You never went, oh my God, I wish I had, or gee, I didn't create it, or I have to applaud that early success, because as a young teen and in our 20s, we don't really understand. My daughter doesn't understand why being determined to get something is so incredibly valuable. She just knows that if she gets determined about something, I'm going to support her in it.
Yep.
But she doesn't know my thinking behind that as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
All she knows is that if she declares sport, we're going to do it 100%. We're going to get going, right?
That's right.
What she knows.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like early successes and the things that fed into your natural skill set making you successful in real estate is your willingness to work as a bartender and get a sense for communicating with people, but also just the willingness to give more than what you're going to quote unquote earn and pay. Like, those are skills that are natural to you. That's part of your own talents. What are some other talents or skills that you feel like has really fed into, like, just the human being you are, being successful in real estate?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if I've ever been asked it in that way. I think I have a natural excitement for life, but I also, I want to enjoy what I'm doing, and I've always enjoyed. I felt purpose with I knew that there was some purpose there. I didn't really understand what it looked like until later on, but I knew that this would help me achieve. Like, I had a feeling and an excitement that I had never had about anything else before, and so I was like, man, like, there's something here with this. I don't know fully what it is yet. It's not fully baked, but like, I'm going to kind of roll with this excitement. And like, I just had never had that feeling. And so, I wanted to take advantage of it. And I felt like if I was going to ever have a regret, the regret would have been if I didn't take advantage of that point in time, of that feeling I had internally, and actually, kind of going out of my way and figuring out a way to be more involved with Dave and his business and learn it from the ground up. And so, as far as like other parts of the business where, are kind of things I've learned about myself over time, I really love the art of the deal. I love structuring creative solutions. Not even it's not necessarily always about the most profitable deal. I think it's about like, can you create a win-win arrangement between both parties, right? Like there's a buyer and there's a seller, and ultimately that seller has objectives, right, that they want to achieve. They've got goals and why they're selling their property, or maybe they're being forced to sell. It doesn't matter, but like there's goals that they're looking to achieve, and I've got goals on our side, when we're looking to buy for, in the buy-sell scenario, and I want to ensure that there's a win-win arrangement for both parties, that both parties walk away feeling good about the transaction. So like, I really enjoy trying to uncover, what their objectives are, and truly find a solution for all parties that accomplishes, nearly all those goals that they have, or that we have in the transaction. So like, I really enjoy that. I still, it's fun. We've got a pretty big team now. I mean, I've got acquisition guys on my team. We've got roughly about 100 folks within our organization. However, I have not yet left the acquisition side of the house. I'm involved in it very intimately. I have my hands on most of the deals that come through our pipeline. I deal with a lot of the sellers directly when we're buying transactions, and I fly up and meet with them in person. I really enjoy that aspect of it. To me, it's personal, and there's like a feeling of fulfillment knowing that like we're both walking away from this very happy for whatever, again, those end goals might be.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I want to highlight like what you've just said, because again, it's like being the bartender. Like there's a secret in that. There's being willing to be an intern, earn more than you're paid. There's a secret in that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a secret in what you just talked about. And to me, there's two secrets. Right? One secret is the win-win. It allows, at least for me, in my perspective, and in listening to what you just said, it allows you to feel successful every day. Every day, you've done good. Every day, you're creating something you can stand behind. Every day, your integrity is intact. Every day, you're choosing to create a life that you want to continue to participate in with pride and clarity and ease of heart, and knowing that you're on purpose, whether you believe in a greater God or not, knowing maybe even that you're aligned with a greater God, knowing that you're doing what it is that is meaningful to you and create something good on the planet. And that alone to me is like, that's how you want to live. Like, that's why we're entrepreneurs, right? I remember right. I asked this question of a lot of people, like, why would you want financial freedom? What is it that you're seeking? Right? Because I run 2 meetings a month, 2 real estate meetings a month. And I almost always start with some version of the reason why you're here is for financial freedom. What does financial freedom look like to you? And the most interesting answer I ever got was keeping my integrity intact. And you just described
that's an interesting answer. Yeah, because yeah. Because I don't, I guess integrity is incredibly important. I'm not sure that financial freedom would, if I didn't have it, it would make any difference there. But so anyway, that's just my opinion. But no,
I understand. I understand. But I just think some people feel that they can only have integrity if they have the financial freedom to do it. And I agree with you. That's a weird boundary. I can understand the space in that. Right.
Yeah, for me, it's time. I mean, we have limited time. Time is finite, and you've got children as well, and that becomes even more real once you have kids, and those years start flying by. Our kids just went back to school. They're in their 3rd week, and 1st grade and 5th grade, and it's like, man, like on my 5th grade, he's very mature for being 10, and like I'm just watching, like I get anxiety about like this, like watching these days, like we make every moment count. However, those moments are slipping by. They're not slipping by, but they're going by very quickly. And before we know it, he's going to be in college. It'll just be another phase of life, and we'll go spend time together with him there. But like, it's just, I want as much time as possible, and it would pain me to know that not having that flexibility with our family to go travel and create multiple memories whenever we see fit, and just if I was working in a factory and I was working 80 hours a week, or I was being forced to travel for an occupation that I didn't like, and I was traveling 3 weeks out of the year, you know that you can never buy that time back. In fact, it's probably even before I had children. David was one of my first primary mentors, and I had another mentor by the name of Rod when I moved from Pennsylvania down to Florida. When I really started growing my business, Rod was another integral part, another key player in helping me really see a bigger vision and a bigger picture. However, the one biggest regret that both Rod and David had that always sunk in with me way back, this is way before I even thought about kids. I knew I wanted kids, but I was nowhere near having kids way back in my 20s. Both of them had failed marriages, And both of them worked so hard when their kids were at young ages that they literally felt as though they missed, the first 15, 16, 17 years of their lives. And it was both of them, their biggest one regret. Not necessarily the failed marriage was a regret, but really the one that was the biggest of all. It was a heavy burden on their shoulder that literally they can't remove. They can't get rid of that burden. It's there. Yeah. Time's gone. You're not getting it back. Was the time that they missed with their kids, while their kids were in those younger years. And so anyway, just for me, financial freedom is having the flexibility and the available time to do just that. And owning a business and having great team surround me. And that's another aspect. I can't do it alone. I mean, we've got incredible team that we've curated over the years, and just folks that are doing it for all the right reasons. But also in turn, I want to ensure that our team, like our team members, I'm very conscious about their traveling, how often they're traveling, how often they're away from home. Like I want them to, also still, they might not be the entrepreneur, but I want them still to be able to experience some of those critical aspects of just having flexibility with their time and their life, and having a lifestyle to where they can create those special memories with their kids and their wives and their families. And so anyway, enough rambling. Yeah, enough rambling.
And it speaks to, I have two different directions I want to go at the same time. It's so hard. So one direction I want to go is that you kept control over your company. In my mind, you kept control. There are certain key elements inside of a company that really allow its ongoing success. Like what's the secret sauce of your company? And one of the secret sauces of your company I'm hearing is that you're the one who's in charge of acquisitions. You know everything that's coming in, why it's coming in, and what its job and purpose is inside of your company. And that to me is one place of the secret sauce. The other place of the secret sauce is financial control, right? Yeah. But let's talk about that. That's what you do inside your company to ensure it does really well. So tell us more about what's the secret sauce of your company.
Yeah.
And what can investors really love about maybe investing with you?
Yeah. And the acquisitions, honestly, I'm just one leg of the stool, and so that's just the part of the business that I really identify with. I really enjoy. And so I've got one other principal in our organization named Brian. And so he really is the other half, and he really is kind of my yin to the yang. I mean, like he thrives and enjoys aspects of the business that I don't really enjoy, and I'm not all that good at. So more the accounting and the capital raising side of things. That's where Brian owns that side of the house. But then that's only two legs of the stool. It really takes three legs of the stool. You need a deal, you need the money to buy the deal. But then you actually need to operate it. It doesn't matter if you buy it right. You need to be able to operate it. And neither one of us are great at operations. And while we have both done it, in our own portfolios over the years, but like at small scale, we can manage it. But to actually build a large, thriving organization and be efficient on the operation side, we didn't have that. It's not me, it's not Brian, nor do we have an interest in trying to be great at it. And so we basically, brought in the best, they basically tried to find the best talent to head up our operations side of the house. And so I think, to the point of what's the secret sauce, it really is the people. It's Brian and me. But without the rest of the team that we have, and just the pure talent that we surround ourselves with on a daily basis, like we might find some success, but we wouldn't have the level of success that we have found today within our business. And so it's just always about being self-aware of like, what am I really good at and what do I suck at? Like, we're not all great at, don't let your ego get in the way. Like, just be really self-aware of like, I'm not good at these items and I don't enjoy it. And I'm very okay with being vulnerable and telling everyone else in the organization that I'm not good at these things, and that so-and-so is brilliant and excels in that area. So like, let's empower them. Let's empower the people that have the skill sets necessary. Surround ourselves with these smarter people and let them do what they're really good at. And so like, just the people within our organization really is the secret sauce. Without them, while we might have some success, we'd be nowhere near what we are today.
Beautifully described. And I have to agree. Every deal that I've looked at that has gone wrong, it's always been, it's rarely is it actually in the deal, because you spend so much time at the beginning of the deal making sure the deal itself shouldn't be wrong, right? So rarely is it in the deal itself. It's often can be in people. Where's the project manager that didn't really understand the scope of the deal, or they didn't perform it well, or we didn't do a good solid physical inspection and that person oversaw something or wasn't completely forthright about something. You never know. But those are just my experiences. Absolutely. Right? I'm just saying, my actual experience is, I invested in a deal where they didn't do enough physical inspection and lost $250,000 worth of profit of the deal to subflooring in Texas, right? So different things happen differently.
Yep.
I think, so that makes sense on the people side, but what does Sunrise Capital do? Like if I were to say, I can describe what I think you do, but I'd rather have you do it. What is Sunrise? If I'm an investor, I want to invest in Sunrise Capital. What do you guys do?
We're a boutique, private equity real estate company that specializes in two verticals: manufactured housing communities and then parking investments. So parking lots and parking garages. And we work with high net worth individuals that are busy professionals, doctors, lawyers, attorneys, other business owners that are great at their craft. They're great at making money, but they don't necessarily have the time or the wherewithal to actually go invest their earnings into real estate investments. And so that's what we help them do. We help already successful folks become more successful by investing in mobile home parks and parking investments. So that's what we do.
Perfect. Beautiful. So my next question is, tell me about some things that your industries are facing right now. Pick either both industries or one that you feel like you're facing. I mean, we've seen high interest rates with the Fed. We're pretty sure they're going to, lower the discount rate in September. That still doesn't mean we're done or that the economy is not heading into recession, because we all know that recessions can follow after increased rates, but continue beyond after the rates have actually gone down, which is part of the purpose of lowering a rate, is to be able to shorten a recessionary period, but that doesn't mean it stops the recessionary period.
Yep.
So why don't you tell me what you think your industries are facing right now?
Yeah, I mean, you'd mentioned one. I mean, obviously, the cost of debt has risen dramatically over the last 2 years. I mean, that's created some challenges. However, I would say that while it's created challenges, what I have found is literally last year was the biggest year we've ever had as far as new acquisitions, and we were buying when others couldn't buy. We were just in a really good position to be able to actually have capital and deploy capital when others weren't. And what I've found is that when interest rates went up, unless you're forced, there's a really compelling reason of why you need to sell or why you should sell. You're not selling. No one should have been a seller over the last 2 years, or even right now while rates are high. And so those things that are coming to market, there's a reason why they're coming to market. Maybe it's, and what I've seen in like last year, it wasn't distressed deals. It was distressed situations that we were stepping into, whether it's debt maturities or floating rate debt. I mean, just a litany of reasons why we were able to take advantage of the timing of the market. So like our underwriting fundamentals never changed. The deal still has to fit within in a particular buy box. And so with that new debt, which is, 200 basis points higher than maybe what it would have been 2 years prior, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I can't financially engineer it to make it work without lying to myself. And so, so the debt has been a lot of headwind, the change in the debt market. However, it's opportunistic as well, because while there's not as many deals transacting, there's also not nearly as many buyers. A lot of buyers got kind of kicked out of the marketplace, and they're on the sidelines, or they just don't have the ability to buy. And so we've been able to take advantage of it. So it's worked really to our favor to a certain degree. We've been able to actually grow the organization by a significant amount over the past year and a half because of it. I am looking forward to debt going down, because there's a lot of deals in our portfolio now that really the timing is now, like how we modeled them out originally. We should be doing cash out refinances here over the next 1 to 3 years. So hopefully they go back down. If not the end of the world. We'll continue to chug forward, but it will be a beautiful thing. Allow us to tap into some equity that we built up over time when and if they do go down. But as far as other headwinds or just maybe some challenges, our parking and mobile home parks are two very different verticals. So I'll maybe speak to like mobile home parks. There's always risk if you're in residential housing. If you're in residential rental housing, there's always some sort of regulatory risk that exists, especially coming into this new election, depending on who gets their foot into the White House. I mean, there's some pretty radical concepts being discussed on the Democratic side that could have a substantial impact for landlords, different size landlords, but there's always risk there. And so like we always try to keep our finger on the pulse, and that's more like on a national level, but we own in 18 different states. And so like on a state level, there's always regulatory risk as well. I mean, for example, we used to own in New York. I was never a big fan of operating in New York. However, we bought some really nice communities years back, and they perform very well. However, during our ownership cycle, statewide rent control got passed, and it's the most restrictive statewide rental control policy that the U.S. has ever seen. And so it really, it completely, our business plan did a 180, and we could never ever accomplish our end all be all business plan because of that change that took place. So we actually sold out and it moved away. And so there's always that type of risk, but more so in like blue states than red states. But even then, we've got this affordable housing crisis. Our product, it fills that void perfectly. It literally is the best solution for affordable housing. However, all those regulatory risks I was talking about, they still have a major impact on us. Even though like we are a really good solution for the problem, we're still at risk because we kind of fall into the camp of multifamily apartments and single family rentals and things like that. We're looked at in the same bucket from a regulatory perspective. So
Go ahead.
Yeah, so those are some big ones. As far as parking's unique. There's not a lot of new parking being built, and a lot of parking ultimately gets redeveloped, like surface parking lots and things like that get redeveloped into condos or mixed-use product. So in most cities in the country, the parking supply is diminishing; it's going down, and so where we end up buying parking, it's kind of it's a great strategy to buy and hold long term and have a cash flow and covered land play in an irreplaceable location. So, but still, even then, parking still has regulatory issues as well. Cities are continually looking for, municipalities are continually looking for, how do they, they're short tax dollars. Like they got to find additional tax revenue from somewhere. And so a lot of cities over the past couple of decades have implemented parking taxes on those folks that own parking. Like Chicago, it's egregious. It's like, I think it's either 18 or 22%. So if you own a parking lot in Chicago, it's 18 or 22, 18% or more of that is going directly in the form of a parking tax that you're paying. That's scary. That's scary for us. So we're very critical about where we buy, because if that ever were to come to fruition in any of our assets, it would have a detrimental impact in the cash flow and our ability to operate it. So.
Yeah, it's the same as a property tax being 22% or 20% of wait a minute, that's going to completely destroy
Absolutely.
a multifamily, right? So, and you have that on parking, and parking isn't necessarily a high revenue model to begin with. The land can be incredibly expensive because of all the high rises around it, especially if you're buying parking that is city center. Doing the long-term play in order to be able to know that piece of land is going to continue to appreciate aggressively. And now all you're getting is, parking fees. And I would think as a cash flow model, that isn't really your best cash flow model, but as an appreciation model, it's the most amazing form of land, one of the most amazing forms of land banking, because it is at least is a piece of land that is bringing cash.
It's got to work on both fronts for us. Like it's got to be an irreplaceable location, but it actually has to pencil. We're not developers, so we don't buy for future value. Like it's got to have a much higher future perceived value with something else. So it's got to be like of anything we own in parking, the lowest use today is parking. Meaning that piece of land is irreplaceable. It's in the path. It's already in the path of progress. It's in the progress. Like the path is already there. But it's got to actually we got to be able to hit our returns. Basically the same target returns that we hit when we buy mobile home communities. And so it's got to make sense today. Okay. But then we also have to feel very confident that inevitably it's in its lowest form at the present time as parking, and that it will have a much higher and better use, whether it be 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road. But we don't underwrite that. We don't model that. We don't put any value on that piece of it from what we were willing to pay for it. It's just icing on the cake at the end of the day. So it's got to make sense as parking in its present state.
I appreciate the conservatism in that. I do, as an investor, right? Because like I said, before I turned on the video, the portion of my portfolio, I'm an LP. And I'm a limited partner in other investment structures. And there's a reason why I do that. Part of it is I don't want to drink my own bathwater. I don't want 100% of I'm serious. I don't want 100% of my own money inside of my little biased point of view, as much as I try to be unbiased and stick to the numbers and stick to the fundamentals. I'm still doubling down in my biased point of view. And all of a sudden, my biased point of view might fail me. And it has failed me. 35 years, of course, I've had investments that have failed me. I believed in this one and it didn't work. Or I thought that math was good, but the math moved, whatever that is. I was doing flips in South Pasadena, and I thought I'd be able to make this substructure behind into a legalized ADU, and I wasn't able to do that. Right. And so I was like, oh man, I didn't do enough due diligence, right? On my own. I thought I understood the ADU laws, but I was inaccurate in this particular case. Right. I missed something that became crucial to the deal.
Yeah.
I paid $350,000 to make that deal whole, to make sure all my investors stay whole.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So it's like, and that was my bust. I did that. Right. I overlooked the details in that before I closed escrow.
Yeah,
right?
no, I think you hit a really critical point. I mean, just due diligence. I mean, we literally just killed a deal last week. It's actually a portfolio of 3 parks, but we spent over $100,000. We were really deep in due diligence. We hired engineers to scope sewer lines and check water lines, and so there were some private utilities in these 3 communities. So I mean, when it was all said and done, we had spent, I think, about $105,000, quite a bit of money, and the outcome was that the infrastructure was in much worse condition than what we had ever anticipated. In fact, it was probably the worst I've seen in quite a long time. And all 3 of them, it was just as bad as each other. I mean, it was just really, it was so bad that it was a multi-million-dollar additional, capital budget that we would have to plan for. And I didn't want to drain on our resources. It was much more of a project than what we anticipated, but we walked away from the deal. But like that due diligence, that was a very painful pill to swallow, $100,000. But what would have been way more painful to swallow is $3 million. Yeah, to just close it, because from the outside looking in, it looked fine. Nothing more than what we've ever done. I mean, nothing harder than what we've done before. Just pretty straightforward turnaround deal. Clean up, put some new roads in, clean up the trees, bring some new homes in, and call it a day. But nope, it was much more intensive than that. We would have lost $3 million if we wouldn't have dug deep and spent the time. And again, but we're not. A lot of those areas, I'm not an expert. I would have never been able to uncover some of the things that were uncovered. So, surrounding yourself again with smarter people, just hiring those that are experts in those respective fields, and trying to avoid, again, you're never going to avoid all the mistakes. But there's a lot that you can, with experience, and again, surrounding yourselves with those that are smarter than you. So in any event,
you described it perfectly, because you're, as a company, and I assume this is similar in your guys' company as it is in my limited scope, because I don't do deals that are as big as yours, just straight up. But you want to be able to know that you're looking for a deal that has a problem. That's intentional. We're looking for a deal with deferred something. We're looking for a deal with lack of occupancy. We're looking for a deal with underperforming management. We're looking for a deal that, I had a friend of mine who used to specialize in homes that had foundation problems. You're looking for a deal that has a problem.
Yep.
So it's not a question of whether the deal has a problem. That's not the question. The question is whether or not that problem is a problem you can solve well.
That's right.
That's really your lane. This is my lane. This is what defines my lane. And I love your willingness to just go, yeah, this is not my lane, right? This is not just you personally, but just like, this is not my company's lane. We're not going to do this. It's not going to perform well. Maybe somebody will do it and it'll be sold at a much deeper discount than what you guys were looking at. But you're not even going to put your company in that position. You're not going to try to reach for the deal and strive for the deal and ask for the discount and then take something on that maybe your company's not prepared for. I'm just saying. What are life lessons of investing in real estate, right?
I
just learn along the way.
Yeah, like in the example that I use that you share as well, like of these couple of parks that we have the wherewithal to do it, but I know how that plays out. There's even more skeletons than what you can ever see, and then what we had allotted for as far as time for our team and our staff to basically fix these properties up would have been 5x of what we originally anticipated. It would have taken them away from other products, because there's always another deal. There's always another deal that comes down the road, and inevitably we've already got a few other deals that are in the works, and it would have actually it would have created a challenge where I would have maybe had to hire additional staff almost temporarily, because they would have been bogged down with these, more than challenging properties that we decided to pass on. I'd rather just wait for the next deal. Things that were more down the fairway. Again, someone can make money on these deals if they buy them right. But again, I feel like and we've done some heavy lifts over the years. I mean, I've done some really crazy projects, but those crazy projects, those are the ones that get away from you fairly quickly, as far as this, budgetary spending. Again, there's skeletons in every deal, but those. There ends up being coffins and coffins worth of skeletons after the things that you think you've identified that you just missed on even after the fact. So, I worry about again, back to the team and just being conscious about, I want everyone to work really hard, but I also want everyone to work smart. And I also don't want to ever put anyone in a position to where literally I bought this project because my ego got in the way. Sorry, Todd. I know that's, I was only going to put you on this for 3 months, but this is your baby for the next year. And you're going to probably have to, spend like 3 weeks out of the month out there to oversee this project. Sorry, bud. You're going to miss your son's birthday. I'm not going down that path. Life is too short.
Right.
And there's easier ways to make money.
No, I love it. I love it. Secret sauce of Sunrise Capital. So secret sauce is one, you control the acquisitions. You see every property. It's your area of expertise. It's your area of strength. You know what's coming into the company. That's one of the gatekeeping things that you do. But you also make sure it's a right-sized project. Right. Yeah. So not letting your ego get in the way, specifically choosing a project that you know that your team manages well and has the right type of problems or difficulties, deferred maintenance that you know that your team can bring home, and not letting yourself or even your attachment to $100,000 get in the way of choosing a good deal. Which is, I love those numbers. I was talking to somebody the other day. I'm like, I know my integrity number. I've been offered $250,000 and I turned it down. I know that my integrity is good, at least to $250,000 or more, right? So, and the third is just using your team again and again and again. It's the personnel that you bring on board, the way you guys manage your team, the faith that you guys have in your team, and knowing that this is a team sport. And that's how you guys are going to play. Right. And the fourth that I heard go by is holding true to your numbers, regardless of what cycle you're in. That's right? That this is the numbers we've got. This is the way we purchase. This is what we commit to. And we're not going to start making reaches all of a sudden just because the cycle has moved or we need a deal to get a deal. We've got numbers that we use that are the right numbers. And that's all of that is how you protect your investors. Because like I said, I'm an LP investor. Does that summarize pretty good?
Yeah, that's great.
Like your company are?
You did a fantastic job.
Just summarizing what you said, Kevin. So if people want to invest in your deals, people want to get close to your company, how do people get a hold of you? How can they find out more about your webinars? What have you got?
Yeah, you just go to our website, investwithsunrise.com. We've got current offering right now. We do a fund type structure. So we have our most recent fund, which is SCI Growth and Income Fund 4. We launched it last October, and currently it's got 3 assets in it. We've got a couple more under contract. But anyway, you can get all the offering information and watch our prior webinars about that particular fund. We do a webinar on every fund that we launch, every new fund that we come out with. But then every time we buy a new deal and put a deal into that fund, we do a deal specific webinar so that you have a better understanding of what deals are actually going inside of the fund. But we have a lot of other cool information. Even if you don't have an interest about who we are, what we do, we post a lot of. We're very transparent, and we put a lot of information up about current deals as well as past deals. We'll put up appraisals of when we bought it, appraisals of when we refinanced it. We'll put details about the business plan, what went right, what went wrong. I mean, anyway, there's lots of information that one can access when you go to the website. I think you have to create a profile, but once you do that, you can get access to old funds that we've operated, our current fund, and then again, really granular details on all the deals that are inside those respective funds. So it's an educational website, even if you don't have an interest in potentially investing with us.
I love that. Not only do I love the educational basis of it, because of course I'm, pretty passionate about education, but I love it because of the transparency you're talking about. Like, I mean, I don't know I'm trying to think about another company that I know, whether they do multifamily, mobile home parks, or parking, that offers that level of transparency on their back deals. This is what we've done. And then continuing transparency once you've invested, which is every new building that's brought in.
Yeah.
Right. This is what we're doing. This is what we're creating. So I think transparency, just as an investor, it keeps my trust intact just in case something does go wrong. Like, I know everything you've done to try to get to where you are. So by the time you're going, sorry guys, this one had a thing in it, a skeleton we didn't plan on. Here's what it means to you as an investor. We can at least say, yeah, we know everything you were doing. We trust that you're continuing to be transparent, authentic, and honest.
Yeah. Another to that point, another thing that we do that's I think pretty unique. We do your normal quarterly reports that we send out to investors with a snapshot of the financial performance and any major CapEx projects or things like that are coming down the pike. But one thing we do, my partner and I, we've been doing it now for I think probably 6 or 7 years. We put together a monthly private podcast that's truly a real monthly update on each property inside of each fund, even our old funds that we still have legacy properties in, we'll go back and do, literally a monthly recap of what's going on. Sometimes there's nothing going on, which is a good thing. Sometimes it's just status quo. Most of the time it is on those older properties. They're stable. And unless there's a rent increase coming up or something like that, or a road project, outside of that, it's not much to say. But I think it allows us to be proactive and answer a lot of questions that most investors have. Even if they don't ask them, they still have the questions. They want to know what's going on. It saves us a lot of time. I think it saves our team a lot of time, so they don't have to be responding to a ton of inbound, a lot of the same questions that would be coming from hundreds of different, we've got 700 plus investors in our, throughout our different funds. And so there's a lot of what's going on here, what's going on there, why'd you guys do that? And so we just try to address all those items on a monthly basis. And it creates a lot of efficiencies on the backside for the rest of our team. So anyway, back to transparency, just trying to keep our investors abreast. I mean, they're partners in our deals with us. I mean, we're running the day to day, but we wouldn't be there if it weren't for their capital, and their belief in investing with us. So,
Kevin, I have to honor where you're coming from. I so appreciate it. I think you've lived up to all my expectations as far as integrity, transparency, willingness, diligence, and being able to make sure that anything that you invest in is valuable both to you and to your investors. Mm-hmm. And so I deeply, deeply appreciate it. Thank you to my listeners. Christina Suter and Real Estate Breakthrough Show. You can find this on multiple different platforms, both as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, but also on Amazon TV, Roku TV, and YouTube. So Christina Suter, Real Estate Breakthrough.